building trust, communication and support in your organisation. For a learning culture to be successful, individuals must be seen to be valued in the organisation. They must be encouraged to share and try new ideas. To allow individuals to do this, they must have a sense of trust and support. To build trust, the company as a whole must tolerate mistakes as part of learning, be taught to respect each other, highlight that asking for help is not a failure, empowering employees, building personal relationships, having communication which fosters top-down and bottom-up feedback, keeping promises and commitments. Managers and trainers must lead by example and be supportive. If there is an environment in which employees will not try new ideas for fear of failure, its consequences will inhibit the learning culture. Management and employees must be open to discussing mistakes and learning from them. It is important to emphasise to staff that mistakes are an inevitable part of learning and are acceptable as long as employees have a strong rationale for making these mistakes. To encourage this, it should be pointed out that suggestions for changes and improvement are not a criticism but opportunities. And rather than criticising people, staff should be encouraged to look at mistakes from the perspective of work practices. An example of an effort to tolerate mistakes is identified by Professor Amy Edmondson. The initiative is known as blame-free reporting, which allows employees to report any observation of mistakes free from penalty or blame. Please see the below video. The first task asks that you develop the content for a briefing session which informs your employees the importance of mistakes and risks as part of learning. It must highlight how and when they will be tolerated and how they will be exploited as opportunities in your department. The second element we must consider in order to build trust and communication is respect each other. It must be emphasised to employees the importance of treating each other with respect and listening to people's views even if you do not agree. Instances where people do not treat each other with respect must be reported and reprimanded. Encouraging empathy and communicating this to employees is important. Furthermore, employees must be encouraged not to jump to conclusions and to observe, understand and listen to other people. Please see the video on the ladder of inference. This is also covered in the lesson on mental models. Trainers and managers must lead by example by listening to everybody's opinion in meetings and hearing people's side of the story. The second element which must be highlighted is identifying that asking for help is not a failure. In organisations, people have different strengths, work at different speeds and need support in many different ways. The fact that we are all diverse must be emphasised to staff. It must be encouraged to employees that everyone should look for ways to help each other and seek help. However, care must be taken so that staff do not exploit this. It must be highlighted that the necessary direction will be given to support staff, however that staff are ultimately responsible for the completion of their own work. In exceptions where staff are burdened with a large workload, efforts will be made to assist this. For example, when an employee is struggling to access the information necessary to help them to complete a project, a manager may direct them to a person who has this information. However, where an employee has 3 work packages on a project due simultaneously, a manager may provide them with the resources to help them complete some of the tasks. Please see this video for further learning. The second thing that must be done is to empower people. For people to trust you, you must trust them. By giving staff the authority and responsibility to make effective decisions around their job, you are showing them that you have confidence in them and that you see them as skilled and competent. This allows a reciprocal relationship to be developed. If staff have to seek permission to complete parts of their job that they already have the expertise to do themselves, you are saying they are not capable. For example, if a buyer has to seek approval through a long, tedious process from a manager for every purchase over €1,000, they may decide to only purchase the material to a value under this, even if by bulk buying the material they will receive a discount and spread delivery costs. By allowing the employee to purchase to a higher value without approval, you are trusting the employee to use their judgment on other factors such as discounting, delivery costs and product demand. The second task asks you to develop a memo requesting all staff in your department to identify any work practices that inhibit them from doing their job effectively, and what measures may be implemented to allow them to do their job more effectively. The next element looks at building personal relationships between staff. Often in a professional role, individuals behave very differently than they do socially. In addition, everyone has personal circumstances and responsibility that as working colleagues we may not be aware of. To build relationships, it might seem simple, but is important to have a personal element at work. Doing simple things like having scheduled coffee mornings or a staff night out, or even getting to know people on a personal level is effective. The second element, which is important, is having an open communication. Communication must be both top-down and bottom-up. Managers and trainers must communicate in an emphatic manner the importance of each employee to the organisation, and in particular the importance of employees sharing their ideas. In addition, you must communicate it to your employees what is going on in the organisation and what decisions are being made. Involving people in decisions or informing them of what is happening is a way to win employees over. This may be done by top-down efforts such as making a habit of dissemination, holding a monthly briefing meeting, or something simple as sending out a weekly email to inform staff of what's happening in the department or in the organisation. Not distorting information by communicating openly and honestly with employees. People hear rumours and can read situations very well. It's important that for you to be truthful with them. They will respect you more and are more likely to be open with you. Giving employees regular feedback on how the department is functioning and how they're doing their job effectively will also help to foster communication. For bottom-up efforts, holding a monthly meeting to allow staff to raise issues that occur in the department and brainstorm how to address these. This involves listening to employees even if you don't agree. Having an open door policy and emphasising to staff that you're there to listen to any grievances they may have, no matter how small. And sharing experiences. Try to relate to your employee's situation. Share your experiences in a similar situation where relevant. This task asks you to develop a communication plan for your department that allows top-down and bottom-up communication. Circulate it to your staff explaining the rationale for the plan and asking for feedback and suggestions. Another element which must be considered is keeping promises and commitments. We all know someone. For example, Joe Bloggs said he would have the order for you tomorrow at the latest for an important customer, but fails to deliver and return your calls. Would you trust this person again? It's important that you're not this person. To ensure trust remains, do not make promises or commitments you cannot keep, and if you do, please see them through. One of the final elements is leading by example. The key to all of the above is to lead by example. Simple? Listen to people, be respectful, even if someone makes a mistake, do not jump to conclusions. Give them a chance to explain and try to turn it into something positive. Have weekly meetings, attend coffee mornings, give people the responsibility they deserve, and ask people how they are. Attend social events. The next element which must be considered is support. Support is key to enhancing trust and communication. People should be encouraged to be supportive of each other and to help each other where necessary. There should be positive reinforcement from leaders. It should be emphasised to employees that any ideas or suggestions are not criticisms but opportunities, as we saw previously. Rather than criticising individuals, again, staff should appraise and evaluate work practices. Extra efforts should be made public within the organisation. As you can see, all of these elements relate to each other. In this lesson, we looked at what characteristics need to be developed to foster trust, communication and support. We looked at encouraging people to tolerate each other's mistakes and respect each other, encourage people to ask for help and support each other, empower your employees by giving them responsibility they deserve, getting to know people on a personal level, having open communication in which you get feedback from others as well as giving feedback to them. Keep your promises and commitments to individuals, and practice all these by leading by example and being supportive of your employees. In the next lesson, we will look at the importance of mental models in building a learning culture.